Big Brother Diary Room.
Every single season and learn everything that there is to know about everybody.
Please make your way to the diary room.
Celebrity! Brandon!
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Diary Room podcast, a Big Brother podcast where we are trying to find the best player in Big Brother history over the course of a couple of years. It's going to take us a little bit. We're still here in round one, making our way through these players for the first time. We have a great guest with us here today, but before I bring her in, let me first say, of course, I am Matt here with Amon. Amon, how's it going?
I'm Matt, and you're Amon. That's what's going on here.
Should we do that for the whole podcast where I make bad choices and piss people off and you
Okay.
and you I don't know, just spin the wheel?
Okay.
You asked for it. Anyway.
I am glad to be back.
Well,
myself and I.
Yes. Matt, if you could do me a favor and introduce our lovely guest that we have with us today. Patron Appreciation Month has come to an end. The patron appreciation never dies. But we are back in the rotation of great guests joining us, and we have another one today.
Yes, we are joined by the host of reality TV Realness with three S's. Yeah, three S's. Chantele is here.
Yay! I mean, I've been talking about Pop the Balloon with Chappelle, but I'm popping my cherry here on the Diary Room.
We have more fun here. Don't tell Chappelle.
Well, he kind of gets in my business on that one, asking me a lot of personal questions. So I don't think you guys are going to be as personal with me here. We don't know. But I'm actually looking forward to having a good time talking about Big Brother because I've been missing it so much without having it. Big Brother Canada. I'm Canadian also. And like that was just something that I always was looking forward to. March comes along. We know we're going to get our share of Arissa and Big Brother gameplay. And it really allowed me to get through the spring and then get ready for the summer of Big Brother US. But we don't got that anymore. But now I got the Diary Room. So I'm happy to be here.
Yes, we were just talking before the show about how we just recently heard you talking to Taryn about Big Brother 19. And we said, let's save Chantele and have her have the opportunity to talk about any season but 19, though 19 is still an option today.
Well, we might still end up talking about 19.
We might.
There's still a few players, if I'm not mistaken, that have not been talked about yet. So,
but maybe we'll eliminate them, and it'll feel really good to get rid of as much 19 as we can. You never know.
I mean, we can dream.
Yes.
I mean, that would just be hilarious if nothing but 19 were to pop up. Like, I'm playing the lottery right after that if that happens. It's crazy.
If it does, and today's a good day to play the lottery. If we're talking about astrology, it's like this full moon in Scorpio. It's an auspicious moon. So that happened yesterday, and it's moving in today. So it is good energy for that, I would say. So let's see what the wheel has to say.
Right, well, then let's wrap up this podcast and let me get to the store and get some cards. You know what is sick and twisted? The fact that Chantele, you may not know this specifically, but this episode is not coming out for a couple of weeks. We're a little bit ahead of schedule right now, scheduling things, and anybody that listens regularly knows we tend to get ahead of ourselves. But that means that by the time this episode comes out, we are, I think, 3 weeks after the fact of knowing the Big Brother premiere date, but still today we do not. Today, all we have is a couple of teaser tweets from Mike and Sharon and whoever else have been, teasing us. Tomorrow, I think should know the premiere date, but today we don't, and that is brutal.
What did Sharon say? I did not see Sharon's tweet.
I did not see it either.
Oh, you busy bees. Sharon put out a little teaser tweet that she was like making a new file on her computer, the BB27 file. And Mike had a teaser tweet that is still unclear to me what it means, but something about the 90s. I don't know exactly what to make of it. I saw people speculating, does that mean it's a 90-day season? Are you seeing the tweet now for the first time, Amon?
Made in the 90s.
Yeah.
Made in the 90s. Do you think that everybody's just going to be like born at 90s, like young and younger or older? I mean, like
I saw a tweet from Lavina that she took the thought right out of my head, or just we're so in sync at this point. Get it? That's not That's horrible.
Boy band from the 90s.
That she said, oh, maybe it's Jerry McDonald back in the house, you know, a Big Brother alumni in their 90s. I was wondering if maybe that's the case. Not actually going to be the case, but Amon, what are you thinking?
I mean, it definitely, the first thought that comes to your head is like a 90s themed season. They've never really done that for Big Brother though, where it's been based off of a time period. We've had sort of like, you know, like futuristic type elements to seasons, but nothing that has been specific to like.
So it's gonna be like back to the 90s, like flashback.
But it's just,
I mean, that's fun.
But when have we ever gotten information about like the theme of the season or the house
that makes sense
this early in advance? Unless the season's starting in like 2 weeks or something. That's not happening. I can't imagine.
Well, what if it's like a secret celebrity season and it's only celebrities from 90s, you know, TV shows that are all in their 40s and 50s now?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd watch that. That seems amazing.
Even if it wasn't celebrities and it was just people in that age range. But that would make sense with the number 90.
Or it could be, well, how many days was the last season? Have we gone below 90?
Wasn't it?
Yeah, we've gone below 90, right? It's been like 79.
I thought it was exactly 90 last season. Then it was 100 the season before, right?
BB20. I feel like BB24 was like 79 days.
I feel like it hasn't been that little.
It was 82 days in 24. 25 was 100 days. 26 was 90 days.
So then it's definitely not day length because there's nothing special about that.
Well, maybe that's one of the elements.
So maybe it's just but that's kind of like, I was going to say a time travel season, but that they kind of already done that for BB25. So
but they didn't fully do it.
It was kind of like multiverse theme.
Yeah, it was more like dimension as opposed to era.
Oh, well, I forgot. The other thing people were speculating is, are we getting 90-minute episodes throughout the season?
Oh.
I mean, I can't imagine
90 days, 90 minutes, everything 90s. I mean, they could do all of these things.
The 90s theme would be fun, but the rest of that sounds like hell.
Don't see how they do that. How do they fit 90-minute episodes into their weekly schedule when it's already it's essentially already 90 minutes with the 3 episodes that they give us.
What if they're doing 2 episodes a week instead of 3, but they're both 90 minutes?
But what's the purpose? What will be the purpose?
3 episodes, 30 minutes.
What else does 90 mean? Mike, help.
What are they showing us that's worth the 90 minutes?
Again, the sick and twisted part is that anybody listening to this, even if it's on the Patreon feed, knows what the hell this means by now.
Yeah, they're like, what? They're screaming. They're like, it's this.
Yeah,
and we're like, we don't know yet.
Exactly. But by the next time we record a podcast, we will have more answers. I do believe and hope. In the meantime, we just speculate. So that's that. If we think of anything else along the way, we'll pop in with it. But Chantele, you've been watching Big Brother for a bit, right? It's every season's on your wheel. Have you been watching since the beginning, or did you go back and binge?
I've been watching since the beginning. So I was already involved in reality TV. Like I was really, really intrigued by it from I was an early teen when my dad told me about Road Rules. And he was like, this guy on Road Rules and they're living on an RV and it's wild. Watch it. And so I watched it. And it was the season with Abram. And I was like, oh my God, like this is like such a good show. So I went back and watched the rest of that season. And then I think I went to the library and I got the VHS tapes of all the other seasons of The Real World and Road Rules.
Oh, wow.
And that's how I binged, was with VHS tapes from the library. And so I watched all of that up until 98 when Real World versus Road Rule, the challenge came around. And so I was already kind of in that, like watching people in a house and some strategy. Like I was already kind of involved in that. And then I remember seeing Survivor, like a trailer for it. And I was like, what is this? Like, I just see people outdoors and they're on a boat and like $1 million. I was like, what's happening here? Intrigued. So I watched the first episode of Survivor and I was like, this is good. Like, I like this. So I was hooked immediately. And then I remember season 1 of Big Brother came around. I was like, what's this? And they had so much attention and lights, and there was a girl on it named Hollywood. And so I watched it, and I didn't really know what I was watching, but I was intrigued. I was interested, and I watched the whole season. And then season 2 came around, and I fell in love with Dr. Will. You know, he's all circuitry and wires, and I was all, you know, hard eyes. And somehow my brother helped me figure it out to go onto ICQ and get an access key to the live feeds. So I was streaming the live feeds from my computer in like 99. And so I was watching the live feeds from season 2. And so that's really how I truly experienced Big Brother, was from pretty much the beginning, watching the live feed. So I watched all of season 2 of the live feeds, 3, 4, 5, 6 was probably the season though that I really fell in love with the show. Whenever I used to give Big Brother as like which season to watch for people I wanted to get hooked on it, I usually gave them season 6. And so season 6 happened and season 7 happened, and I'm like, oh my God, it's like Will and Chantele gonna get together. This is like my dream.
I can't even imagine like being, you know, like our All-Stars, for people who did not watch 7 live, is 22. Like that is our season that the returnees came back and we saw, and it was shit. Like I can't imagine being there for the good All-Stars in real time. I'm gonna be jealous forever.
It was honestly amazing. Like seeing Dr. Will and Janelle flirting and interacting, like it was magic. It was the golden years of Big Brother for sure. I love those first like 1 to 7 or 2 to 7, I thought was like epic Big Brother in my opinion. And so yeah, I mean I watched every season since. There's a few seasons where I was unable to get the live feeds. Like I used to have easy access with it, but then the CBS All Access Pass changed so that you couldn't use a Canadian credit card. Like there's something that happened. So that's I think when I started listening to podcasts about it and reading like Joker's updates and Hamster Watch and Morty's Morty, he does like the, you know, play-by-play Morty's TV, I think it is. Anyway, so I started watching that type of publications to get my live feed fixed when I couldn't actually watch it. And then, you know, come to today, I can find anything now. I can get anything I want, but back then it was a little harder.
Yeah, I literally I can't imagine like logging on to watch Big Brother 3 live feeds and seeing Danielle Reyes playing Big Brother in real time. Like again, endlessly jealous. Will, like any of these like legends from you know, the early seasons that we can only sit here today and hope for like the chance in a lifetime that they'll show back up on a show, and they have. Will, you know, just came back on Dondi. Danielle was back on Trader, so we do get to see them, but it's not the live feeds. It's just not the same, and they're not.
I remember I wanted to riot when, because in season 3 they weren't sequestering the jury, and so everybody was able to go out. They were able to hear from people what was been said about them in diary rooms and stuff like that, and it completely ruined Danielle's game. Like, she played such a great expert level, like one of the best games we've ever seen, and because they had that. And they can go and watch back what people are saying about them when you're supposed to be in confidence, and then they get to decide whether or not you get $500,000. That was definitely a flaw in the game that I'm happy that they've changed since then. But I think that they owe Danielle $500,000.
I mean, we've been saying that forever, and I agree. Like, and we wanted her to have her moment on Traders, and she still couldn't get that damn moment.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Traders was not great, but you know, we wanted it for her. We did.
Yeah.
Well,
I love
how you're saying Big Brother 22 is shit. Meanwhile, check out the podcast of the BBG retrospective with Matt LaGloria.
I mean,
if we said anything on that podcast other than this wasn't a good season, let me know.
Well, with 22 though, I think it didn't live up to the hype. You know, the hype
season of 22 was amazing.
Well, that's actually what brought me into the RHAP fold. You know, that I did like an introspective, basically on the hypothetically speaking, with Janelle, with like Rob for the first time, and Brent, and like it was a wild experience. So I do have a special place in my heart for Big Brother 22 for the fact that it was the first time I really started talking about Big Brother on RHAP, and so we'll just leave it with on a nice note.
Yeah, we'll leave it with our jealousy of you for having seen some of these Big Brother moments in history, live. But
With my mom.
with
Me
your
and my
mom.
mom used to watch the live feeds together all day.
But what we can do to maybe make up for that is maybe pull some players from those seasons today and talk through them, maybe with that added perspective. Again, Chantele, you have a rather big wheel here today. It is filled with every remaining player that has not yet been pulled.
So many
Here
do
on
you
the
have
Diary Room podcast.
a number count? Like how many players are still on the board? Like 1,000?
I do believe this is 242 names
Okay,
that are
less than I thought.
remaining in the round. We started with well over 600, and we're down to 242.
Oh, okay.
That's a
Wow.
lot of names.
That's a lot of names.
If that number was correct that I saw before, 242 sounded right. Yeah, still a long ways to go. BB27 will, of course, get added in, which will bring that number back up a little bit. Maybe a celeb season would be nice to add some and keep this round going as long as possible. But that's what we have for today.
Actually lightly talking about that. Is it fair to the earlier brackets to bring in a new bracket into the season, or do you need to have like a separate one that comes like after 26? We were just wondering what your thoughts were about.
Well, I don't know if it's fair to any of these players on the wheel at all that Amon is a member of the panel and has a vote. It's just like anything could happen.
All right, okay.
The
hatred, the resentment, it's delicious.
The resentment, yes. No, in all seriousness, fuck the fairness. All
right. I mean,
it's kind of hard to avoid. It's like, what do we do? Just put them all in their own separate little bracket, or like, I don't know, or just have them all immediately go to round 2, and so therefore, like, you get to go to round 2. That's the positive about it, but the negative is that you are up against people that you're less likely to go to. So I feel like that sort of counterbalances that. So maybe that we'll figure it out.
If we're talking about the worst player on Big Brother 27, and they make it farther than somebody who was unfairly eliminated so far, they're not going to win the bracket. So even if like they make it another round past, okay, like whatever, they're not going to win it. They'll be out at some point. But that leads us to our first wheel spin of the day. Are we all ready?
I'm nervous.
Let's do it, baby.
I just want to know who they are.
Only one way to find out where we are going to begin for today.
I'm ready to Google
the wheel.
Who will it be?
Who will be the name of the 242 to kick us off today? Okay.
John Luke
okay.
Kefir. BB Can 8, baby.
Of the 242 names, John Luke.
And one of the 2 John Lukes.
John Lukes.
I'm thinking of John Michael.
Oh, yeah.
They're in Canada as well.
Close enough. So, yeah, that was underwhelming. But we'll talk about John Luke anyway. For those who, I don't know, are not BB Can fans or not BB Can 8 viewers of the 26 days of that season, that's where John Luke comes from. And Amon's going to give us, actually, no, he's not. There's no BB Can 8 notes on the wiki, because what would you actually have to write about?
Yeah, really isn't much, but I can try to pull a little something together.
If you were writing the BB Wiki notes for John Luke right now, it would say
he was a member of the Evictors, along with Rianne and Michael and Maddie. He was in a relatively okay position for his game. His name was thrown out there a little bit by different people, but not too much. Yeah. that's kind of what I remember about his game.
I need some edits on that intro package there. That's the gist of it, though, for sure. Again, why does this say 25 days? Was it 25 or 26? Am I misremembering, or I don't know?
You might be thinking of Survivor. I think it's 25 days.
That could be it. But yeah, John Luke, a member of the cast of Big Brother Canada 8, Chantele, do you have any BB Can 8 general thoughts or hot takes? Or Aman is a defender of the season.
I am.
I think it had the potential to be a decent season. I remember things were starting to go on. It was the beginning of COVID, and like we were just all hoping that since they're already quarantined, like they wouldn't have to shut it down. And so I do remember really hoping that the season was going to go through. And I remember I was also devastated when they had to get to the news that they weren't going to be keeping it on the air. So, I don't specifically remember him. I remember his name. I remember his face. I don't remember his game or really. But I do feel as though all the people that were from the season, I wish that they got a second chance or something. Cause like, I think it was a promising season that kind of got the short end.
I think a lot of people were talking about Jean-Luc in the sense of like, is this like, can he be the next Dane? Just like this goofy guy fills a similar archetype. And like coming into the game, it seemed like he had a similar style of social game. And of course, Dane coming right out of, the season right before this, coming out the winner there. So like, I don't know. I think I saw some potential in him. It just obviously the season wasn't able to go long enough to really see what these people were made of. And he had, the young, pretty people alliance that was being torn apart. Very much him included as well. But I don't know. I don't know that we can necessarily say he was going to be anywhere near the player that Dane was. He was probably like I don't know, maybe if he gets to the jury stage and is able to go on some kind of comp run towards the end of the season, you can see it going well for him. But obviously we saw that season was being shaped to be run by Sheldon, Brooke, Kyle until he was evicted, and Vanessa. And I don't know that group would have let Jean-Luc get very far because they would have identified him as a social threat.
Yeah, kind of hard to know. I think at the very least, one thing that we can give him is that he wasn't targeted first. Out of him and Michael, the house sort of like flipped the vote to get Michael out, and because Michael was seen as the more physical threat. And now he was still seen as threatening from like the side with Brooke and Sheldon. But I don't think that he was deemed as threatening. So I feel like that does speak a little bit to the likable personality that he had, and that he didn't really have any big beefs with anybody, which was aided even further by the fact that there were other large beefs happening between a bunch of these people in the house with Kyle and Jamar and Min Lee and Vanessa and just all these crazy, and then the whole house against Carol. Like, I just feel like
Carol against Carol.
So I think that within all of the madness, he did have the tendency to sort of just like sit back. So I would not be surprised if he were to make it further. But once again, hard to tell. He definitely
never know.
Wasn't as prominent in strategy talk or as like in the direction that the game was going as much as some of the other people that were in the house. Even though all of them had a shortened game, his wasn't as active as I think some of his other fellow house guests.
Well, he was on some sort of fight night for a charity.
Oh, that's
fight,
not surprising. So... Who is the man on the other side of the poster?
I don't remember him specifically. He was on X on the Beach. His name is Renan.
Oh, he was on the challenge.
Jean-Luc was on the challenge?
No.
Renan.
He was Michaela's partner on the challenge. He was like a first boot.
Oh, okay. I do remember him now.
Yeah. That's so deep in my memory. It popped right in for me. But wow, what a guy.
I'm just trying to find some content about him. Like, so maybe he would have been a challenge beast. So we just don't know. Like, are we judging for him for up until we saw him, or the potential that he could have had?
A little bit of both. I mean, to give you some context for BB Can 8 so far, we have had 6 players have come up. 5 have lost their matchups, although one of them did win a battle back to get back in. So right now we do have Sheldon, who was that battle back winner, and Suzanne are the only 2 players currently going through to the next round, while Jamar, Angie, Madeline, and Min Lee all have been eliminated.
Jamar.
I tried. I forget.
I think it was him versus Tommy. I think.
Tommy. Tommy Brocco.
Not who's Tommy.
Tommy did just get married.
Hey, Tommy. Hope you're congrats, newlywed.
But I haven't met Tommy, but I've met Jamar, and like he's cute. I don't know.
I know he is,
and
he's tall. I was like, oh my god, he's so tall. And
he
he's like, what, you
is.
thought I was gonna be short? I was like, no, I just didn't know you're gonna be this tall.
He's very tall. He's a nice, tall, dark man. I'm here for it.
Yeah, he's cuter in person. Not gonna lie.
I've heard.
How many more players from BB Can 8 can we realistically imagine go through? With 2 already in the next round, and we
Maybe
still have,
Brooke.
I'm gonna estimate like 10 more to pull or something like that.
I would
Brooke
say
maybe do
Brooke,
well.
Yeah, Brooke was probably
maybe
gonna
Vanessa,
do well.
but did she do something that irritated me? But right before
I mean,
it ended?
be friends with Kyle all season.
Yeah, she kind of sided with Kyle and was like, kind of egging on the whole Jamar is aggressive, Jamar's dangerous type narrative. Outside of that, she was also positioned to be a pretty good power player in the game. So I think in terms of when it comes to BB Can 8, yeah, like I think the people that are going to make it through or have the potential to make it through are the ones that were really steering the game as much as possible, because that's all we can really go off of BB Can 8. It's like, were you in the driver's seat? If you weren't, then you're probably not going to make it through. If you were, as long as you are matched up with someone who wasn't in the driver's seat for their season, then you're probably going to be okay. So I think, yeah, Vanessa, Brooke, perhaps John Luke, even though he wasn't in the driver's seat.
Who knows who he's going up against?
Yeah, who he gets matched up with.
And look, maybe Carol goes through. Maybe maybe
there's
it's Carol.
0% chance anybody will let Carol go through. Then I was so irritated with her at that.
Maybe like, Nico goes through. We all remember.
The only way that either of them goes through is if they are matched up with the other person, and I would hope at that point Carol would be the one to go through.
I kind of want Michael to go through, not just because he's also handsome, but maybe also because he's like a history maker, is the only one evicted from the season. That would be kind of fun.
What was the whole like nomination void? Like, do you remember what the twist was? I don't. I just saw nomination void. That's what it said on like Big Brother Canada wiki. Something about like nomination void. I don't know.
Is that like when they would go into the room and put up the 4 names that they did for like seasons in a row? I don't remember like a twist called that, but also memories of that season fade pretty quickly.
It really, well, because there's nothing.
Let's find John Luke an opponent and see if this next spin can be any more interesting than the first one. Away we go. All right.
Oh, that was the nomination void was the twist that Chris won to allow him to get rid of the nominations in week 3 and replace them with his own, provided that he was not the HOH.
We're going to Big Brother 9. And I will say, I saw the wheel was 1 spot away from Will Kirby. We are so desperately waiting for some of these, remaining big names to come up. But no, we're going to go to BB9. And we're going to talk about our good friend Natalie, who came up in conversation a couple episodes ago when we talked about Maddie. Maddie was eliminated. Maybe Natalie can have a better fate.
Yeah, maybe.
Which Natalie wasn't eliminated? There's been a few, hasn't there?
Wait, say again.
Which one, Natalie? Are you talking that's been eliminated already?
Oh no, Maddie was eliminated.
Oh, Maddie. Okay.
Her big crush from the season, Maddie, was eliminated a couple episodes ago for us. But Natalie is still in the competition, and Natalie is going to be up against John Luke. Let's have the conversation. Amon, do we have notes on Natalie?
Yes, Natalie. Her soulmate in the game was Matt. Natalie had a crush on Matt, but was oblivious to the fact that he did not reciprocate. Natalie was often portrayed as a woman who was not especially smart, but was extremely kind. She was a member of the Team Christ Alliance. She ultimately placed 5th after her ally Sheila cast a tiebreaker vote against her for playing both sides.
Wow. Wow. So do we get any semblance of Natalie's game throughout Big Brother 9, or is every second that she's on screen her talking about her crush on Maddie? Can anybody remember anything that's not related to that? Because I can't.
No.
Yeah,
I'm just like, I remember being super excited about BB9 because I was like, oh, it's gonna be a love season, and it was coming on in like the off season. It was winter, I think, if I'm not mistaken, anyways.
Mhm.
And I was just like super excited for it. And then they had the duos, and then like a duo, like the one duo that I was curious to see if they're gonna get in a relationship got split up, and then one guy went home. And I remember just being like, man, this season had so much potential, and then it just ended up sucking. So I don't really even remember her right now. Like if I watched it back, I'd probably remember her, but I remember her talking about Maddie. Was she always in bikinis? Is that her? Like is she
the bikini barista? Yep.
But like was she always wearing bikinis in the house?
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
I feel like I remember that a little bit. Yeah. I just don't remember enough.
Yeah, she was part of she ended up being part of like loosely connected to the alliance that of course gets to the end of the game. The Adam, Sheila, Ryan, Sharon. Well, Sharon's not a part of that alliance per se, but then towards the end of the game and her rest of her allies are gone, she kind of links up with those guys. And so Natalie is like on that side. And she ends up actually having a pretty brutal eviction at Final Five when she was working again with that group that all make it to the final four with Sharon. And Sharon, by all accounts, should have been evicted at 5 after the rest of her allies had just been evicted. Chelsea, James, Joshua, that group. But Sharon, being a good player, is able to kind of connect herself to the rest of them at the finals and talk about how Natalie is a bigger threat and Natalie needs to go and Natalie's untrustworthy because Natalie was very easy to paint a target on throughout the game. It wasn't just, as far as we saw everything that had to do with Maddie, but Natalie was she Chatty Natty, or was that like a nickname for someone else? Because I know it was a nickname. I want to say that was her nickname.
I could see her being a chatty natty.
She was. I mean, she was a very talkative, very social person, and I think she tried to maintain friendships. Yeah, with just about everybody that she could. And I think that was what made it easy for them to paint her as so untrustworthy, or I should say, made it easy for Sharon to do so. And again, so Sharon sneaks a whole spot past where otherwise you would have expected Sharon to have been evicted, and Natalie is the one who gets burned because of that, and she goes out, I want to say, very sad, running into the arms of Maddie, who I don't remember if he even was giving her the time of day when he saw her again. But it really was the story of Natalie and her crush on Maddie throughout the season, and him really, really not being interested, and then kind of eventually realizing like, hey, this woman would literally die for me, and I've known her for a couple of weeks, so maybe I shouldn't turn her away as far as this game is concerned.
Yeah.
It's like so dusty, this memory of this season. I think I also pushed it aside because I didn't love it, and then there was a lot of negative press about it after. So yeah, I think.
Have you rewatched it at all, or is it?
No, this is not. I don't even know if I can find it. Is it easily accessible?
It's on Paramount Plus. Yeah.
Okay.
But I can, I mean, if I had been there in real time, I think I would be the exact same way of like, I don't need to revisit it, even though I do find a lot of entertainment throughout the season at times. I don't know if I was there, if I would be like, I need to go back.
Well, that's the thing. I would, if I was going back and watching all seasons, and I'd never seen the season before. Yeah, let's go. Like I'd watch it for sure. But yeah, there's other seasons that I'd probably rewatch before this one, I think.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Big Brother 9 is definitely it's an acquired taste. Let's just leave it there. As far as Natalie goes, I think a positive about her game is that she sort of, as uninfluential as she was, I think, as far as like what was going on strategically, she did sort of appear to be sort of like the heart of her alliance, the thing that was like sort of like gluing everyone together, which ultimately ends up being her downfall, as you mentioned earlier. It's how, she did sort of like, she was friendly, she was nice, she talked to everybody, which made it very hard for people to trust her in the end, which is so crazy because Sheila and Ryan really, basically, they like ran her HOH in week 7 and then go ahead and evict her 2 weeks later for saying, oh, we can't really tell which side she's on. Well, bitch, she listened to y'all for week 7. So that should clue you in on who she's actually, being loyal to. But, like you said, Sharon had a few more things to pull out of her sleeve, and Sharon ends up going home right afterwards. So it really didn't last that long. But yeah, I just think that it just came down to her, being friendly with everyone, but not, but still being expendable the entire time, for sure.
I mean, I think we have to take into account her wardrobe. This is top tier work going on here, and so I'm definitely going to take that in consideration with, how I
With the vote.
assess Natalie's game. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's do that. Let's assess Natalie and her game and her matchup here against John Luke from BB Can 8. We're obviously talking John Luke of like the potential of what he had to come through the days that we saw. He wasn't actually evicted, so that of course is a factor in all these BB Can 8 players versus Natalie, who we did see get evicted at the final 5, but she made it deep into the game. She had obviously a lot of social skills. But I also kind of wonder if there's any world she could have won the season. And I'm inclined to say no. I think that she probably loses to everybody in that final 5. But she's social. I don't know. Come on, what are you thinking?
I think so too. I don't really see the chance for her to win. But if this is such an interesting matchup because we're comparing her to John Luke when we really don't have much for him either, and they kind of in a way occupy similar-esque positions within their alliance. Like maybe Natalie clearly isn't as physical as John Luke was, although I don't think John Luke really won any competitions. But we definitely got to see how he would perform in a few of them. And it seemed like John really wasn't the strategic force behind the evictors. That seemed to be mainly Madeline and Rianne, to be honest, that was really driving that forward.
Which is, I think, also why they were the bigger targets than John Luke was. Like, I think their names came up a lot because people saw them as bigger threats than they saw John Luke. Do you, Aman, would you draw any comparison as I'm trying to do in my head from Natalie to the legend herself, Raven?
No, Raven is a special potent mixture of
I feel like they occupy
Delulu?
a similar space in my mind.
no, because Raven at least wasn't delulu about her relationship. Matt was very much into her. Like they
And
were
both of them were into a Matt.
Matt?
yeah. But Matt
Well,
was into Serial and Raven, whereas this Maddie was just I don't know what Maddie was into. It wasn't Natalie.
Chantele, why don't we
I
start
see
with
what
you?
you're saying, though.
Why don't we start with you, Chantele? As someone who I guess maybe doesn't remember a ton about either of these two players, what argument might have persuaded you more? Which player do you want to advance?
Well, I remember when I was watching BB Can 8, I didn't care anything about John Luke. So, like, I remember him being kind of part of like the hot young kind of clique a little bit, with Madeline and
Yeah.
Michael and him. I can't remember other people that were in that group, but so I remember him being part of that, but I don't remember him necessarily having any like any strategy whatsoever. I don't know if he'd actually be that a bit of a game, like that much of a game player. Maybe he would have been dragged along to the end, but he could also be easily sacrificed. I could see Madeline, who was more of a game player, if she was up against him, do whatever it takes to stay in the game, and he would be going out the door. So I feel as though, because we actually witnessed Natalie making it further along in the game. She played like almost 3 times as long as he did. I think that I'm going to have to give it to Natalie for making more of an impact. I think in her first 25 days, people were talking about her more than they were likely talking about John Luke. And so I think for this matchup, even though it's kind of hard to compare them, I'm going to have to give it to Natalie because she's played longer. And I think that she was more of a voice in the first 25 days.
And I guess the wardrobe was somewhat of a factor.
And the wardrobe was definitely somewhat of a factor.
In her favor,
just like rocking or 2010 fashion realness. Like I'm
in the
down
summer
with
of
it.
love or the winter of love. All right, Aman, that's 1 vote for Natalie. Are you going to jump on that as well, or?
Yeah, as much as I love BB Can 8 and I would love to see more of the players go through to their inevitable demise in round 2, I do think that I'm going to have to give it to Natalie here, just for the sheer fact of the matter is that she held her alliance together in her own little special way. And she performed better than a lot of her fellow house guests ever thought that she could. I think that she performed better than she thought that she could, and that's got to count for something. So I'll give it to her as well.
There we go. I'm gonna vote for Jean-Luc because it doesn't matter. If it mattered, I was gonna vote for Natalie. But just given I feel like Jean-Luc certainly would have had the potential to be the better player, and so if he was a full-fledged player throughout a season, like I think he wins the matchup somewhat handily. But just like as far as like, you know, what we can do with these two going forward, I think there's a lot more in the BB9 discussion and to talk through Natalie. I think she brought a lot more to Big Brother, even for people that may not all know a lot about Big Brother 9. Like when you think about Big Brother 9, you probably think about Natalie at some point or another. So again, I'll just throw a vote to Jean-Luc. It doesn't matter, but Natalie will advance to the next round. So congratulations to her.
Chatty Natty.
Let's pull up the wheel and see where we go next. Started with one of our, you know, typical around here, what the hell matchups, which means we can only go sideways or up.
Yeah.
I think there's no down. There could
I don't
be
think
a
we can
down.
go down. There's no down around here. Up next today is going to be, looks like BB Can 9, Kefir.
Oh, come on, Kefir.
That's a big name in the BB Can world. If you're a BBUS viewer only, you don't know Kefir, but Kefir's got fans.
Oh, yes, he does.
Definitely has fans. Has a lot of support from the Native community out west coast Canada. And he was a really big impact on his season. I think that in another universe, he could have won that season if things kind of just played out a little bit differently. And so I think there was a twist that kind of screwed him over, right? Something screwed him over, I think, or something happened. Hold on.
He was just, I think, Aman, we'll get to the notes in a second. I think like flew too close to the sun that he was so overt with his alliance in letting them know how smart he was that like it brought him in and added a lot of value to his alliance where they were like, oh, this guy, like we got to work with this guy because he's helping us get farther in the game. And some of the people on his side needed the brains, not all of them, but some of them that Kefir had to help them get along. But at a certain point, he kind of has his heart broken in a similar way to how Adam Pike does in BB Can 7 of just like, we can't go deeper into the game with you. You are going to beat us all.
Robbed Goddess right here.
Aman, do we have Kefir notes?
Yes, we do. Kefir. During the preseason, Canada voted for Kefir to be the captain of Team Defender. Despite a rocky start, he found steady footing. Kefir's good position would begin to crumble in week 7 when he was backdoored by Jedson, but when Jedson changed his mind, in the following week, he would play a big part of trapdooring and evicting Jedson. By this point, Kefir was considered a jury threat, but managed to escape eviction until Final Four when he was evicted by Tara. He placed 4th. On finale night, Kefir won BB Can's first ever Canada's Favorite House Guest Award. I forgot they waited until BB Can 9 to do that. Interesting.
Yeah. Kefir was a big presence on this season. There's a lot of scenes that I can recall just off the top of my head, thinking of him and Victoria when Victoria was the secret HOH and she wanted to like confide in Kefir that she had won the power. And so she's like, I'm the secret HOH. And he's like, no way, that's awesome. Like, you're trusting me. And then she's like, no, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Meanwhile, she was. And then he's like, oh, why'd you? And then she's like, no, but I actually am. And then like they celebrate again. And then she's like, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not. And he's like, what the fuck? What are you doing? And of course we know like Victoria becomes a legend in her first season, gets brought back. That was very funny. And just like in general, he floated really well throughout that game between different groups of people. He had Tina and Tara that trusted him pretty tightly, the Sunsetters that he was a part of, like the entire, like almost every single person that made it to the end of that game had a good relationship with Kefir. So Chantele, I feel like he is probably a favorite coming into any given matchup here.
Absolutely. I mean, he was very likable. He didn't, sometimes there's people that are likable and then they do something that everybody hates them. He didn't have that moment, really. We were kind of always rooting for him. We're kind of maybe saying like, shh, hold it in because we want him to play for longer and do better in this game. But I definitely think that he was a good Big Brother player, and he was good spirits, like kind person, had a lot of support. He was representing something. He offered a lot of great conversation about his history and his culture that we hadn't really ever seen very much of that on the show. And so I think, yeah, he's definitely coming in a fan favorite. And I mean, we're gonna have to vote, but yeah, I like Kefir a lot.
Aman, do you remember? I feel like it's the case that Kefir was the one that came up with the idea to get Jed to use the veto on Beth that sends Jed home. When, like, I want to say that was Kefir's idea, like originally, before it ends up getting pitched to Jed, and he does it.
Yeah, I mean, he thought about it. He knew that it was something that Jetsu would really consider, given the fact that Beth was at risk. And he kind of did make it happen. I mean, I think that was the moment, I think, that really solidified him for a lot of people as one of the best Big Brother Canada players, period. I don't, we can get into further conversation about how high up on that list Kefir is, because I'd be willing to say that he's probably like top 25 maybe. But yeah, I think that was definitely a good move for him. I think that Kefir just had a pretty well-rounded game. He has comp wins under his belt. He was very good socially. He had the strategy clearly under his belt. I just think that he was a very well-rounded player that, the longer you keep him in the game, the higher his threat level becomes. Like in the end, there really is no path to win when you're sitting next to him, because he has that great underdog story going on. Everybody in the house likes him. And it's just he did a good job of sort of underselling himself sometimes too. Although I don't always think that some of those times when he would complain about how he doesn't really, see it for himself with these competitions, and then how he considers himself to be sort of like down and out. He would like carry this very defeatist attitude, which pissed off a lot of us, I remember at the time. I don't know how much of that was strategy. I think a bit of it was, but I think there would be genuine moments where he would just be very, very, very self-deprecating. And it was very annoying to watch, because he was in better positions than so many of the other people in that house. And I'm like, can you shut up and play the game? Because you were on top of the world last week. Now there's aren't in power. Now it's all woe is me. Bitch. Come on now. So I think that there was definitely, he played a very, like, wore his heart on his sleeve. Was easy to talk to amongst the house, and just a overall solid player. And he would have won had he made it to the final 3 or final 2 for sure.
Go ahead, Chantele.
I don't remember this fact, but on Big Brother Wiki here, it says that he returned to Big Brother Canada 11 to give advice to week 4 invisible head of household Santina through the Wendy's window. So I actually forgot about that.
Yes, I forgot about that too.
When the Wendy's window was available for alumni, they just popped him in there. Anyone that they could get nearby to say hello. And sometimes, BB Canada was your own mom, and you didn't even realize. We'll talk about
the brain masseuse didn't even realize. Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Kefir also, there was the double eviction that he gets Rohan out, that I remember, like, in the moment being so frustrated, because we're watching the trio, of course, Jed, Ty, and Beth, just looking like they're going to dominate the rest of the game, and somebody has to do something about it. And a double eviction, perfect opportunity to try to get one of them out. But Kefir had been pulled in close with them, and ultimately, I think, proves me wrong when I was frustrated with him in that moment, because well, maybe not, because he ends up losing the game to one of them, and whatever. But just I don't know. I like, when I think back on it more, I'm like, well, I don't know what trust he actually had in Rohan. Really none. Even though, you sometimes think the people that are seen as the outsiders should find a way to come together, but also, then you just end up on the block next to Rohan the following week, and they evict you instead, because now you pop up as the bigger threat. So,
but I think that's one of the key reasons as to why I think Kefir did so well in the game and lasted as long as he did, was because he would paint himself and put himself in those positions where it was like, look, I have options here. I really don't want to go with this option, but woe is me. I don't really know what to do in this game. Like, I'm going to need some reassurance that, like, if I don't do this, that you guys are going to protect me. And that's sort of like how Jed and Ty sort of saw him. It was like, someone that wasn't as capable in this game as they were. Meanwhile, Kefir knows exactly what the hell he's doing, and trying to make himself appear that way. But that was it. So
yeah. So there's Kefir. Again, a strong contender. Whoever comes up next could have an uphill battle, or it could be a strong player, and we could be in for a hell of a discussion. So let's find out.
Oh my gosh.
BB Can 9, probably the season with the most players to come up from Canada so far. I'm just guessing that that's the case. I think it is. But where are we going to go next? We're going to go to Big Brother 5. And we're talking about Marvin. Wow.
Okay.
Wow. This is a legend. This is a legendary name.
He is a legendary name. Yeah, for sure.
This is interesting. Marvin, Big Brother 5, one of the most talked about players, I think, when you think of that season. Of course, maybe you immediately go to like the end game players, like the final 3. But Marvin, not too far off. 6th place finish and just a big involvement throughout the season. Aman, what do we have on Marvin?
Yeah, Marvin was known for becoming the first player in Big Brother history to get evicted during a double eviction, and also known for coming up with the backdoor strategy that has been used on many seasons afterwards. He was evicted during the first half of the double eviction by a unanimous vote of 3-0, placing 6th.
Why does Nokomis get credit for the 5-finger plan when it was Marvin? How did that all shake out?
Well, that would be a question for you almost. If you were watching the live feeds, do you have any memory of it coming together?
Oh my God. I mean, this is literally 20 years ago.
Just like it was yesterday.
Right?
I mean, it's definitely
maybe
because
she said the 5-finger plan. And so like maybe the strategy was already there, but calling it something was given to her. You know what I mean? So maybe that's why it got conflated there. But
I think,
go ahead.
I think it's because I feel like I remember during the retrospective that Taryn just talked about this with whomever covered BB5 with him. But I could be, and guys, like, look, ego's out the door. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments. I don't care. I think it's because of the fact that Nokomis was really the one that sort of like put it into place. Whereas with Marvin, because I remember I watched BB5 maybe like 5 months ago at this point. I think, if I remember correctly, Marvin did talk about it and was like, this could work, but he didn't actually make it happen. Whereas Nokomis was like, here's what you're going to do. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. You're gonna do this. So I feel like in the greater mindset, more people are like attribute it to Nokomis, even though there were other people in on the plan or helping her sort of like refine the plan. It's just that she was the most vocal with it. So I think that's why most people attribute it to her.
And it happened. Yeah.
And it happened. Yep.
But he came up with the strategy, if I remember that.
Yeah, I think the common way it's talked about is just that he was the one who said it out loud first, and I think, like you guys are saying, that Nokomis kind of put it a little bit more into motion ultimately when the time came for that to happen. But Marvin, in his own right, certainly a legend of Big Brother. Things were rocky.
So crazy. It's just so indicative of history. You know, you got somebody black making something, and then somebody white. She's just like,
somebody just take that. He didn't patent it.
Although it's not Nokomis' fault that the fandom has done this. It's not. It's just so poetic.
Speaking of,
Marvin was the one who got the Young and the Restless spot, or what was it, Young and Restless or Bold and Beautiful? What the hell is the show called?
I think it was Young and the Restless.
Young and the Restless,
but it could have been Bold and Beautiful. But I think it was YNR. Because I think it was. Another thing though that it's pretty impressive, I'd have to say, that he lasted 65 days in the house, and it wasn't at the time when there was like a 50% diversity requirement at all. And so the fact that he made it so deep into the game at that time, that's definitely impressive. That he was not somebody that was targeted here. Oh, but he had a thing with one of the twins, right?
He had a thing against one of the twins.
Oh, against.
I mean,
which one?
I think
I think he did like, and I remember early in the season,
with.
Was it Adria or?
Yeah, well, I think it was when it was just Adria, because by the
Yeah.
time that they're both there, he wants them, far away from him.
Yeah.
But like there was definitely a thing with Marvin in the house and how he spoke about the women, and was just one of many Big Brother house guests to be very H word while in there, and he let that known. And so I think a lot of things that he said or ways that he acted were highlighted, especially by Diane throughout the game, or throughout like especially towards the end game, that she was always talking about how she was uncomfortable with Marvin, but then it seemed like they were working together at a certain point, but not actually. So there's a lot more. Unfortunately, I again, I'm not the person who was there in real time to be fully reporting on the details of all of that. But as far as like the game is concerned, there were, I think, a good amount of high points for him. Not all. I can remember like the guys, of course, the Four Horsemen had their alliance, and then they kind of pull Marvin in.
Up.
Which they eventually like pull him in, right, to like fake that he's the new fifth member of it. But he wasn't actually that in good with them. But when you say he broke them up, what do you
like? Well, in the beginning when because didn't he won the first HOH, right? And then he put up, who did he put up? He put up, oh my god, I forget.
He gets Lori evicted, doesn't he? I'm pretty sure.
Doesn't he put up some of the horsemen as well initially?
No.
Remember? Oh my
his
God.
first week or his
I'm
second time?
Or maybe it was his second.
His first time was Holly and Lori, and the second time was Adria and Michael.
And Michael, yeah. So he ends up getting Adria evicted again. He was very happy to do that, but I don't think he specifically made any moves against the guys. Even if I think at a certain point he might have realized that he wasn't as in good with them or as tight, but also like it was a sinking ship for Scott and Jace going out of the game back to back. The Lori eviction is where he really gets his game started. He was like pissed off at her for taking the money. Lori, who recently just went through.
Yeah, I know. He would not let that go. He was hot in the DR about that.
Yeah, I feel like I just remember him kind of like making it through a lot more rounds than I was expecting him to, by circumstances of the game or by like him playing the game himself with the pieces available at the time. I feel like he just made it a couple spots further than you were expecting. Is my memory.
I mean, he was definitely a personality pick back then. I think that, from what I remember, he was very funny, witty, sarcastic in the diary room, and didn't have any qualms with like telling people to their faces, if he kind of felt a way about them, which I think ultimately, in the end game, which he didn't really spend a lot of time putting together his end game, I think that's kind of what ends up doing him in, because he doesn't really have many. I feel like he worked with quite a few people, but no one was really concrete with him. He kind of just did what he thought that he had to do. And a lot of that was sort of like indicative of how he would admonish people for being in open relationships in the house. Like he was like, he had this thing against showmances in the beginning where he's like, y'all, you're stupid. If you get into a showmance, you're stupid. Meanwhile, we kind of understand the meta to be a little different now these days. But I think that he wanted to play a bit of like a covert game, a more quiet game, and just try to align with as many people as possible to get to the end. But, master of none, shall we say.
Yeah, he definitely made it further than I thought that he was going to. He sometimes he spoke his mind, and that doesn't always work for a lot of people, especially in those days. But he won some power that was able him to leverage that a little bit, gain some allies to a certain extent, and so it did allow him to get further along in the game. And yeah, I think that he would probably even do better nowadays because he might have some built-in allies, with back then he really didn't have anybody and he had to make friends with people. But now that he might have some allies with people that look a little bit more like him. So I think he did really well for the time that he was in the house.
Yeah.
This is a brutal matchup. I think both of these guys have a lot of fan support behind them, and I think both of them we could justify winning here.
Oh boy,
this is tough. Although I'm trying to read Amon's face and wonder if he thinks this is as tough as I might be putting it as.
I forgot who he's up against. I was like, oh, Natty, whatever, easy.
Oh yeah, imagine easy peasy. But no, it's Kefir versus Marvin. Does anyone feel like they have their vote ready?
This is tough, but like
they've lasted a similar amount of days.
Yes, they did. And one is the actual creator of a strategy that has persisted to this
Would you argue that, I think I've seen this argument online before, that somebody would have come up with it eventually, if not Marvin, if not Nokomis?
Yes, but you can make that argument about everything known to man.
So like, does that take anything away for you of,
No,
that he was the one that did it first?
Because you were thinking of the game in a way that no one was thinking of it at the time. Like it's just this, like, what it have. I mean, you can. It's just that I get what people are saying when they say that, because it's like anything. It's like we would have
the parachute strategy, right? Like that. Yeah. Eventually, everybody's going to be thinking about that one, right?
Of course,
they did then.
But they didn't do it, right? And he did it first. So that means that he has his mind was working, right? So it's like. That's like that to me is like very, very hard for me to sort of like
overlook.
Want to give Kefir this over him, because I think that Kefir really is a top Big Brother Canada player and probably a top Big Brother player. So I would hate to say goodbye to him in round one, but when you're like, it's the back door. It's still here. People use it every damn season. It is never going anywhere. And it's like.
Yeah, it's in Julie Chen's lexicon of like Big Brother idioms. So, I mean, you make a strong point here. Maybe what we'll do, because I know which way Amon's going to go, and I can understand that being the direction to go. But in order to put Matt in a more difficult position, so he can decide who is going to win, I am going to support Kefir. Now, I definitely think that Marvin, he kind of laid some of the groundwork for Kefir to have such a successful run on the show. I'm sure that he learned some stuff from his gameplay, but I feel like his gameplay was, in the end, people revered it a little bit more positively. They don't really think of Marvin. They don't even really attribute the backdoor plan to him Marvin, necessarily. Yep. So I think that Kefir has just looked a little bit better in the light of Big Brother fandom. And so for this round, Matt, I am going to support my fellow Canadian Kefir here and give him my vote.
Chantele just did to me what I was going to do to her.
Yes. Get his ass.
Well, Amon, are we officially locking in your vote as for Marvin?
Oh, you know it, baby. I'm definitely locking it in now. I take what Chantele said about Kefir's game. I do think that ultimately, I think Kefir played more of a well-rounded game than I think Marvin did. But I'm grading on a curve when it comes to Marvin and giving him a lot more legacy points when it comes to me pushing him through. So yeah.
I definitely get that. And now that I'm not just voting in a sense to give Chantele the decision-making spot, now I have to really reason it out a little bit more. But hey, love to be the decision maker every once in a while. So look, I mean, both of you made very good arguments for your person. I think that it's certainly the legacy aspect for Marvin that is like very much something that you can give in his favor. The creation of the backdoor, like, yeah, the first person to have that idea, even if Nokomis gets the credit for it and whatnot. And just, again, a general ability to escape being in danger. He, I think, has maybe more obvious downs than Kefir throughout the game, but the time and place that he played Big Brother is just such a different landscape to what Kefir played in, right? It's just a whole different game. You're talking,
there are more tools at your disposal.
I mean, like, Marvin was playing with only the people. BB Can 9, you're playing modern Big Brother, and it's different. For Kefir's defense, of course, everything that I said, that we all said when we were talking about Kefir is all the reasons plus things we're probably forgetting about the amount of impressive gameplay, the amount of impressive just ideas and creations he brought to that game, and creative ways to maneuver the pieces around. I mean, this trio that was hanging out in bed together, they were called the trio for more than just of a floating block reason. And he found ways to kind of infiltrate them and to find a way to break up Jed and Beth by having the idea to say, this guy just might be dumb enough to use the veto on his girlfriend and we can vote him out. And that's exactly what happened. And just all throughout the game, he used his relationships so well to advance him further in the game. And again, his eviction is just a heartbreaking conclusion of, you're going to win if you find a way to the end. And Amon, you were talking about Kefir's, lack of confidence in himself to do well in comps. I do think that there were a couple of comps throughout the season that he was struggling in. And if it was just like a fully, like completely equitable field that he wasn't up against athletes like Ty in the end game, Tara, who is holding her own, and he can win himself to the end. I mean, he sweeps a jury vote. Everyone had praise for him. So I do think overall, I think I have to say that Kefir is a better player, and the legacy that he has throughout BBCAN 9, which is a very well regarded season, I think puts him over the edge. But that's not the end of the conversation, Amon.
Are you serious? Really? Oh my god. So it doesn't even matter? So her putting you in this situation is going to be easy for you regardless?
Is it going to be easy for me?
Well, because I think I know which way the patron vote probably went. And I don't think if it went to Marvin, I'll be kind of shocked. I'll be very happy with our patrons that someone did that. That someone is thinking along the lines of, oh wow, let me give Marvin a patron vote because I know that he created the back door. But a piece of me is thinking that didn't happen, that Kefir is much more of a more recent and more popular player these days, and someone gave it to him, meaning that even if you do vote for Marvin, it's still going to go to Kefir because we gave it to the patron vote.
Marvin has a patron vote.
Oh, wow.
Mandy, there's a patron vote for Mandy for Marvin.
I'm so annoyed. So even when someone puts you in the hot seat, you still get
that's not the end of the conversation.
There's another one for Kefir?
There's a patron vote for Kefir.
Oh.
So you are in the hot seat then.
I was in the hot seat. We have, for the first time, 5 votes going into one matchup. And for the first time, head-to-head patron votes that unfortunately seem to cancel each other out. That has not happened yet. And by a vote of 3-2, Kefir is moving on to the next round over Marvin.
Wow. Okay.
Chantele, history was made here today.
Holy! I mean, I loved being part of history. That's amazing. I feel bad for Marvin, but I do think that against a bunch of other people, he would have done better. The first 2 people that we would have matched him up with, he would have easily.
That was a very tough
taken
matchup. Chantele, we have battle backs around here all the time. Every 15 players that get eliminated, one person comes back. We have to think Marvin's going to be a contender for that.
And how do you guys pick the battle back? Is it another wheel, or is it like
patron vote? So anybody that is signed up to be a patron has votes to give out, and of those 15 players, you distribute your votes however you would like to. Whoever has the most, that player comes back.
Okay, that's good to know. But there's probably some other stars that went out as well in a hard bracket. But
I mean, so far, you want the names so far? I mean, look,
sure.
we're on the second episode of this batch. The names that have been eliminated in the episode prior so far, he's up against Santina, Joe Barber from BB8. So Santina from BBCAN 11, Joe Barber from BB8, and Monty from B24. So maybe Monty's some tough competition there.
Monty probably.
But
final 2. Who was Marvin, he up against? How did he lose that?
Go ahead, Amon.
Was he up against Taylor? What happened?
No. He was up against Amon's number 1 favorite person in the entire world. And also, mine too, for more or less, Davon.
Oh, okay, easy. Yeah.
I kind of was like, girl, like, he'll be fine. He'll probably win the battle back. But now that Marvin's with him, I'm like, oh,
Yeah, little tough here. We might have one of the more contentious battle backs, and we're only on the second episode of the batch. And of course, who lost in the John Luke, another tough contender for this battle back. So we'll see how that goes.
John
But
Luke's
let's.
not.
I was gonna say now that Marvin and Monty are in there, I think John Luke can just kiss his chances goodbye.
Yeah.
Let's sit on that matchup as we get into our final matchup of the day today. That one was wild. 2 patron votes. Unfortunately, again, canceled each other out, but you gave your players their best shot. And that was a tough matchup. Let's see what this next one brings us. We are going to Big Brother 8, baby. And we're talking about a legend. Chantele, another history-making moment here. I know everybody who has been in the diary room so far is jealous that you are getting to talk about Jen Johnson.
I mean, oh my God, she was epic back in the day. I like her going against Doctor, what's his name? Evil? What's not Doctor Evil?
Dr. Dick.
Dr. Evil Dick.
Evil Doctor.
Evil Dr. Dick.
Evil Will.
Dr. Dick is funny.
But him and the pots and pans and her when he poured something over her head and the red leotard. I mean, she was
burned her with a
on
cigarette,
her.
which is still kind of crazy. They should have ejected him for that. That was
he should have been
crazy.
ejected. I can't believe they allowed him to win the season. Spoiler alert. Sorry.
Look at how stunning this woman is. Aside from being a legend in
she would disagree with you. She hated that damn.
I know she hated her photo. I don't know if it was this photo she hated because they used to do so many different pictures, like in their photo.
No, it wasn't this one. It was more of like a side one.
Yeah. So who knows where this one is necessarily from? They again had different versions, but a whole legend. Stop! It brings back like bad memories. Like it's an iconic moment for all the wrong reasons. Like I genuinely like shrivel up when I hear that because that like this poor woman was getting burned by a scary man with a cigarette on her skin. Like that was terrifying.
Yeah.
And again, it makes Big Brother history, but for all the wrong reasons. So much to talk about when it comes to Jen Johnson. The fact that she was not on the Amazing Race Big Brother cast when we were teased with the possibility that she was contacted. All right.
Yeah.
Aman, do we have notes?
Jen was known for being frequently tormented by Dick's insults, her rivalry with Danielle, not being liked by many of her fellow house guests, and frequently talking about herself. She is also known for her meltdown upon seeing her memory wall photo, which she dubs as the worst picture I've ever taken. She is also known for wearing shirts and said puns about her nickname, e.g., I'm a genius. After being nominated as a replacement nominee by Danielle in week 7, Jen violated a Big Brother rule by eating food while on a mandatory slop. This earned her a penalty vote on eviction night, and she was evicted and unanimous 6-0 vote, placing it. But bitch, I would have ate too if I knew I was probably gonna be going home.
Mm-hmm. Jen,
between the picture, the antics with Dick, the leotard, I just like, and you know what I can't even speak to? Like when I showed up in the Big Brother fandom in Big Brother 16, I didn't hear people talking about Jen, and maybe I wasn't as deep into the streets. But like, I don't know, is she having a resurgence in the past, like however many years? Because people are talking about Jen Johnson these days, maybe because we had 22 and we had returnees, but like we're waiting, like now we're like, okay, who else can we get to return? Where is Jen?
Well, it's these people with icon status. She held her own against Dr. Why am I calling him Doctor? He is not a doctor. He's just evil. I wonder if it's just because she was so epic back then. And I think if I remember how I was feeling back then, I was team Danielle, but not team Dick. But I kind of like had a weird thing with Jen, you know what I mean? Like I felt bad for her, but like I liked Danielle. But I think that since then I've disliked Danielle. And so maybe this is allowing me to relook at my thoughts about Jen, being like, oh, maybe I disliked the wrong person or like liked less the wrong person back then. So I don't know, because I'm feeling that with Danielle, that she might be a bit of like a jealous girl kind of, and I'm thinking that probably her dad was protecting her and that's why he was coming so hard for Jen. And maybe it was just like all unfair and unwarranted, and she was just like a fun kind of ditzy pretty girl on Big Brother that was treated poorly, and so maybe we want to support her now.
I mean, as emotional as she was also very unflappable. I think, she played her game very not flawlessly. Oh my god, no,
You
very,
can keep that.
very fearlessly. She stood up to Dick multiple times, whether it be yelling right back to him in his face, taking burns on the hand, or just be acting generally aloof, and like she couldn't care less what the hell he thought. I think that's what made her such a fan favorite, was because she just if you weren't if you did not like Dick, Jen was the girl that you would root for. Now strategically, not the best. I mean, she definitely wasn't, completely absent, given that she won, what was it, 1 HOH and 2 vetoes. Like, so she definitely had a little bit of game going on there. And she was observant enough to know sort of like what might be a better move in terms of like keeping her in the house a little longer. But I think because her personality was so polarizing, it's almost inevitable that her eviction would come one way or the other. I don't think that her winning was ever really going to happen, even if she does make it to the final 2. So I think personality wise, character wise, top tier Big Brother player for sure. Outside of that, not the best, but that's okay. It's still Jen.
She was so strong as a human being in that house. Like
Mhm.
truly, like there are so many moments that you would have expected to see her just break down because of the way she was treated, not just by Dick, but obviously especially by Dick. That she just she didn't have the most friends in there. People weren't, pouring on the support for her in tough moments. She was, an acquired taste of a person, of a personality, of a friend, I guess, in there. And so many other people had already connected outside of, having Jen in their working group, in their alliance, whatever the case was. So she just kind of didn't fit into so many people's plans. And with all the controversy, it's like, well, why pull Jen into anything and have her stink on my group, on my friends? Jen, I don't know. I mean, just a legend, like in this, like not the same way as Marvin, but like not too dissimilar, of just like everything that you remember from them in their season. When you think BB8, you think of Jen, along with, the other top memorable players of the season. And whether that's for gameplay or other reasons, she is a legend. Have we said that enough times?
She's a legend.
She's a legend, baby.
I want to say the comp wins are probably her strongest point, because she comes off the block twice, winning a veto to save herself in moments where, very easily she could have been the one evicted, if not.
Even though one of those wins was questionable because she happened to. What was the? It was the guesstimating questions comp.
It was the one that Dick threw to give Jen the veto because Mike was a dumbass, essentially. We already had Mike come up, but we talked about him. He was like letting Dick, he was like taunting Dick during that competition, and Dick was like, well, if you want to keep being an idiot, I will throw this veto to Jen, we'll send you home instead. And that's exactly what happens. So yes, correct that one of them was not a normal veto win, but that's not the point.
I maybe I'm not talking. Maybe it wasn't
Wait,
something that
Chantel's holding up a picture of.
This is her now, though.
I was going to say that doesn't look like
still, right?
Jen.
Does it? You don't think it does?
Well,
It
no, like
does
not
to
in the
me.
not in the time of.
She looks younger.
Yeah,
Anything,
that's like
Jesus.
nowadays, and she has branded her genius of ageless living is like in her bio as to what she's like working on right now. She has 7,833 sub followers on Instagram. Like she's living her best life. She's inspiring vitality and transformation, and she's a realtor in California.
Okay. Go buy your houses from Jen.
Yes, Malibu. Apparently,
maybe she'll wear the red leotard as she signs the paperwork with you.
It doesn't look like it, but she looks like she's like doing well.
The leotard was, made right. It was she was the first one, and then when Michelle gets it, no, somebody else gets it in BB9, don't they? Or is it Michelle's the next one to get it? I don't remember details, but either way, it obviously comes back and just stays as legendary as it was because of what Jen started there. So
the comp I was talking about earlier was the HOH comp that she won, where it was one of those. higher or lower competitions where you're looking at something to see and you guesstimate how how many things of this are in this thing, or how much can this hold.
Was
And
that a fluke?
it was a fluke, baby. There was a rotating teacup that was about like this big, and they asked how many ounces of tea could this teacup hold. But the teacup had an opening on the side because there were seats inside the teacup, so you could sit in it and spin it. So they asked how many ounces can it hold, and I think it was what was the gay guy's name? Not Dustin, the other one.
Joe.
He guessed like a big number because it was a big ass teacup, and she guessed 41. Not because she was accounting for the hole in the side, but because she just thought she thought that 41 ounces was a lot, and she ended up winning.
So, like we said, comp beast. Jen,
as it were.
Genius Jen is a legend, and I will say I am afraid to spin this wheel.
Yeah, especially if she gets sent away, and then you got Marvin, you got Jen.
Marvin, I mean, at that point, come on, forget about Monty, everybody. Let's let's focus on important things. This is scary, but the only way to move us forward is to spin the wheel. Jen Johnson, can we get her to the next round? Let's see. We're gonna have her matched up against. Oh my goodness. Back to BB Can 8.
Really? Another BB Can 8?
Back to BB Can 8. Chantele, thank you for helping us to let BB
weed that one out. Weed that
fly
whole season out.
The name besides wait, actually, can I even say that? Yeah, I think it's on Brooke. That would have been the next name to come up. So we were just talking, obviously, a lot of BB Can 8, but Brooke, tough competitor. Brienne, maybe?
I don't even remember her, so let me go look her up.
I mean, she's kind of in a similar position to Jean-Luc. I mean, she was another member of the Evictors, right?
She sure was.
And I remember she was a nurse coming into the season, and her and Maddie got along pretty well. They really wanted to get something going with Michael and Jean-Luc. They formed the Evictors. They were not sort of like in the driver's seat, as I stated earlier, for like the beginning of the season, but they were like, at least Maddie and Rianne, more so Maddie, were creating connections outside of the Evictors because it was already crumbling with Michael being the first and only person to be evicted. And I think from then on out, like she was planning on just kind of just like riding this in the middle game. We're trying to stay out of the fray, and coast that way. But generally well liked, didn't really have too many beefs with anybody in the house. It's very similar to Jean-Luc. I don't know what else to say.
Chantele, when you say I don't remember this person much, I mean, look, BB Can 8 is BB Can 8, but also this is a person on the cast who probably is in the bottom 2 or 3 of things we have to talk about for her. She simply existed in that house. We can say who she was allied with. We have. Aman literally just did. But otherwise, there were zero memorable moments, anything worth talking about, honestly. And she must be, I'm sure she's a very nice woman. I want to say she was like a nurse, which made, her coming out of the house in COVID times very much more I don't know, impactful. I feel like I remember seeing her on Instagram and whatnot after that. She of course went like right back to work, and we needed those nurses and medical professionals more than ever. But as far as her impact in the game, Chantele, you're not remembering anything because there's not much to remember.
I'm like, I just finally recognize her face. Like I just like I loosely remember her talking with Madeline, but like it's not solid. I can picture her sitting around a table at one point.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that table. She sat around the table.
The house.
I think she wore a microphone
on the show.
Probably had shoes on.
Arissa said her name at some point.
Yeah.
Was she a figure skater growing up? I don't remember memorizing. No, that was Santina, or maybe someone. I don't know.
She was a figure skater. Yeah, I mean, she was a nurse. Is the only thing I remember.
I just remember her being a nurse, so that's the thing that I remember the most because she was like in her scrubs and stuff. And that was like in her intro package.
I mean,
Well,
my notes for her are so simple. I said she's a very quiet player, but very social. Could have gone all the way, flying under the radar, but not impactful.
She did have. There was a bit of a women's thing, so I guess she does have this over John Luke. If we were going to compare the two of them together, there was a women's thing that got together in the beginning of most seasons, as we have come to find out. Like with her, Madeline, Vanessa, and I think maybe Mindy. I don't think Suzanne was involved in that. I can't remember for sure. So there was that going on, and I think that she was one of the first people to realize within the Evictors, because Maddie was like so into Michael and wanted Michael to stay that she was like she just wasn't as locked in. But I think that Rianne was like, "Girl, we might be fucked. Like this Michael's about to go. I think we might be next. I don't really think that Vanessa is giving us all the information that she has because she's spending a lot of time with Kyle, and it's just getting weird." So I will give her that I feel like she was more self-aware, even though she was quiet. Now, did she do anything about it? No, not really. Could she do anything about it at that point? No, not really. But there's at least that.
I feel bad for these BB-8ers because there's nothing to say about them. They all had potential and it all got snatched out from under them. And you really can't compare her game to somebody that's played at least the season ran for a full season. You know what I mean? Whether they got to the end or not. So
yeah, I mean, on one hand, like I feel like maybe I wonder if anybody's like watching us or watched this at any point and said like, why even include them? I mean, to which point, if you are thinking that, it's just look, they played more days of Big Brother than a lot of
the house. They were playing Big Brother. They are Big Brother players. They were on the show.
Not their
cast
down. And at the end of the day, if some of them have to be here as, cannon fodder for Jen Johnson to see round
think
two,
about it as more like it increases your chances of your faves getting through is okay.
Facts.
Jen Johnson, my vote goes to you.
I mean, of course it's going to be Jen Johnson. I'm sorry. I love supporting Canadians, but Jen is a legend and I couldn't remember who you were. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be rude.
I am going to give it to Rianne.
Stop!
Not because I think that she is better than Jen or anything like that. Obviously, Jen is the much more iconic Big Brother player and just personality. I'm going to give it to Rianne only for the simple fact of the matter that I will continue to be a champion for BB 8, and I couldn't give it to John Luke, but I know that for a fact me voting for her isn't going to do anything, and so it's just me being Amon, giving BB 8 its flowers and its love. It's the forgotten season. It is soon to be forgotten media because I'm sure it'll get wiped off of YouTube at some point, and yeah, I just love BB 8 and all of the craziness that we got from it within that short period of time. So,
do you want to swap votes? I'll take the Natalie vote, and you can have the John Luke vote.
No, because if I'm going to give it to BB 8, then I'm at least going to give it to the person that was the better player of the two. Okay. So I'll give it to. I
mean, if you really want to champion BB 8, look, that I mean, but I'll say my vote as a sympathy vote was just because, or just throwaway vote because that was Natalie. Jen Johnson not getting your vote is disrespectful, and you're going to hear from people. But you know what? We have nothing to worry about because not only is Jen going through on a 2-1 vote.
There was a Patreon vote for Rianne. I'd have been like, bitch, I had nothing to do with that. That's y'all. I like, look, I'm waiting. Y'all.
Well, that's the risk that you take when you cast your votes without knowing, of course. But I will say the patron vote here is for Jen. Jen has a vote from Will. Will, who used his first vote on Bowie Jane, used his second vote on Jen Johnson. And I think this is going to be a much better outcome, or I know it is, because Bowie did not go through despite the patron vote. Jen is going through in a 3-1 vote. Amon almost
part of the mafia?
Yes. That's it for the day. So Chantele, at least one Canadian made it through today.
Woo! Yes, and I think out of them all three, he is the most deserving Canadian to make it through, even though, BB 8 needs to maybe have a second chance, but not with this bracket. So,
yeah. Very, very tough matchup for Marvin from Big Brother 5 today, as he is, as of now, eliminated from the bracket. We'll see if a battle back is able to do anything for him, but it's been starting kind of strong here with these batch of 5 episodes. So to recap, yeah, Marvin is out. Kefir from BB Can 9 is advancing to the next round. The first matchup, we had John Luke evicted from the bracket in favor of Chatty Natty from BB9. And then we had another BB Can 8 casualty in Rianne evicted here today as Jen Johnson, the genius herself, lives to see round 2, and we can all celebrate in that, Chantele. So we did some good work today.
Some great work and lots of fun taking me down memory lane here, dusting off the cobwebs of my memory as I try to think of 2 decades worth of players. But yeah, it was a great time. Thanks for inviting me. I really enjoyed myself.
Of course. Can't wait to do it again with you someday here. But in the meantime, Chantele, where can people find you online and anything that you have going on?
Sure. So at ShanFredFred on Instagram, you can find me, or at Reality Realness on Instagram, or Reality Realness with 3 S's on YouTube. I'm not covering anything at this exact moment, but as soon as June comes, I'm going to have 2 Love Islands to be covering. I usually cover those daily. And then in terms of RJP, recently I did the retrospective with Taryn on BB19. I've been talking with Chappelle about Pop the Balloon on his channel recap. Kickback. Always have trouble saying that one, like a tongue twister. And I did do the B&B recently, as well as Top Chef. I was a guest on the Top Chef recap, but I was also a guest on Restaurant Wars.
Yeah, I have so many questions.
I have so many answers. And I was able to get Haley to be a diner as well. So we both dined at different restaurants, and we were able to come on the podcast together and talk about our experience. So that was also really great. So that's happened within the last couple of weeks. So check those out.
Yeah, that's so fun.
Well, I will say, I do think this will be our first episode of June. So Love Island certainly going to be in full swing very soon, if not already. So definitely make sure you're checking out Chantele's coverage of it and everything else that Chantele's up to on podcasts online. Chantele, thank you so much for joining us. Aman, Drag Race is probably in bracket. Beginning of bracket point.
Yeah, this is the first week of June.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, because we're already 2 episodes down. So the next,
or the end of bracket 2.
Beginning of bracket 3, I believe.
Probably.
So yeah, check me and Beth out over there. Liana is taking a little bit of time away. She'll probably make an appearance or 2 throughout the season, but it's largely just me and Beth for All Stars 10 of Drag Race. And yeah, that's gonna be it for me, I think.
All
yeah.
Right. And check me out on the Free Agents podcast, talking about all things the challenge, the traders when it's in season, all across the board of reality TV. But right now we are in the midst of a challenge rewatch all the way back to the beginning of the show. Neither of us were there watching it live at the very beginning. Scally jumped in much quicker than I did, but that's what we're doing over there, rewatching the challenge from the beginning. So check that out. And check out the Diary Room on Patreon, patreon.com/the Diary Room. 3 patron votes today, and I feel like as we get deeper into the rest of these episodes in the back half, like patron votes are going to keep popping up because there's still a lot of them that have a lot of people haven't even gotten their first vote in, let alone the second. So look, we said 242 names down to 236 left, but still a lot of patron votes in the mix. So if you want to get yours in for whoever is still left out there that you need to ensure is going to get your vote, then do that. Of course, the battle back votes, all important, especially right now. And the losers brackets. We take all these losers, we put them together, we try to find the worst one. Marvin, probably not going to be the worst player here, but maybe he'll get the battle back vote. But that's it for now. Again, patreon.com/the Diary Room. And Aman, get us out of here.
Yes, our thanks to Chantele for joining us once again. And until next time, guys, please go to the Diary Room.